trying a new video location today. Let's see. Alright, welcome everyone. Chimoge here once again. I guess I'm gonna squat. I'm trying a new shooting location. Thank you to my returning viewers. This is a test. It's a test of a new location. This location isn't completely enclosed, but at this time, generally no one's here. So I'm just hoping I have enough privacy, for lack of a better word, that I can shoot the live stream without being interrupted. And then, of course, I'm thinking more about how to talk about, I guess, conservative politicians and other similar groups that I think I had to go into detail about until recently. You can see it. The title of this mercy is "Do Not Vote for MAGA Candidates." Do not vote for MAGA candidates. MAGA, of course, is Donald Trump's slogan. Make America Great Again. So just a bonus piece of information there in case you needed more help with that. Anyway, let me do a more full introduction. I've registered 2 viewers. Thank you very much. Every view is a blessing. Again, my name is Chimoge. This will be for turning people. My government name, again, Chimoge is my given name. My government name is Chimoge Chijoke Ibe. My alternate white structure name is Chimoge Chijoke Ibe Nwoko. Ibe is a shortened name, shortened version of the last name Ibe Nwoko. It's just due to circumstances outside my control. Ibe is my government name. My matrilineal village is Ebe Mohafia. That's in West Africa. My patrilineal village is well, at least the one I want to use the reference point for my patrilineage is Auji Urata. Those are both in West Africa. That's the part of the West Africa that's above the sea, south of the Sahara, and west of Central Africa. So, yeah, those are the best landmarks for me to give quickly. I was born in Capricorn time about 30 years ago, to be exact, January 2nd, 1998. Again, I try not to always be too exact because it's not healthy, but that's the common practice in the world today, and I'm not hiding my age. And unfortunately, there are a lot of weird people who hide their ages. So just to go against that trend, I just make a point of it. Anyway, January 2nd, 1998, Capricorn season when I was born. I was born in Washington, D.C., the southeast part. Again, obviously, that's a man-made name for it. I prefer to call that place Rom. Anyway, and I see 2 comments. Thank you for the comments. Every comment is a blessing. I read them at my discretion. Anyway, just figuring out how to orient myself here. I think this is the best camera angle. I wish I had a different elevation, but I try not to move things too much where I am. Let's see if I stand. I don't really like this angle where I'm standing. If I stand back. Well, and then the key part of shooting here is that I have to be ready to mute if someone comes in unexpectedly. So let me test that here. Okay, so I can hit mute and then cut off the video as well. Let's see that. And I'm back. Okay, those are emergency protocols so that I don't have to use them. Thank you. I'm just gonna thank Bella C1X. They said this as the first comment. I'm assuming they were saying this is a good live stream. Thank you for that. It looks like they also had to go. That's fine. Obviously this live stream will be up. You can come back to it, and I'm glad you were here at all. Every view is a blessing. And then I'm also gonna shout out Lily LOL. You said hi, so hi back. Thank you very much. Okay. Kabranum Nogo. Greetings to my patrilineage and all of their archers. And I want to make clear, there are many translations for Algol. Algol, the term, how do I explain it? People who are your Algol can also be called your in-laws, but I don't want to say the best translation for Algol is in-law, because oftentimes in English, people use the term in-law very broadly. So for example, they might say that your brother's wife's cousin's mother is also your in-law. No, that's too distant. Your Algol is that first connection. So say, you have a brother, they're married, your brother's wife is your Algol. The rest of them are not your Algol unless there's some other connections there. They're Algol through a different route. So there's that. Then you can also translate it as your archers. And I want to debut this shooting to be, or this, forgive me, this translation to be clear. I just try not to use it too much because I don't want to give people the some sort of negative connotation. But another translation for Algo is shooter. But that is not implying that they'll do anything unethical. It's just they'll go to war for you. So I like to use the translation archers more. So if you're going into battle, they're your archers. But again, your archer is not necessarily doing anything unethical. Okay, like the general idea of that is you're doing something good. Basically, they're helping you take down evil, even though they're more distant from you than say your spouse, and then even people you're directly related to. So they come from deep to help you get rid of your problems. That's the idea. Anyway, and also you can translate them as your eagles. So and your overseers. They're watching over you because you have you know, a role in their own gene pool because of your relationship. So they're just making sure in a distant way that everything looks okay. And then they're watching out for you. And then, eagle's a symbol of justice. So, yeah. Anyway. Okay. You know what? I see it. The main addition here is I need a bean to sit on. Yeah, I need a bean that I can move. Okay. If I have two. You know what? Seeing something. Yep, alright, I got the idea. Let me get a bit. see. So I want to continue fleshing out my work. Atumato. Kamajatumato. Excuse me. Give me a second. Forgive me, had to wipe my nose. I guess this is training to stay on my toes. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Uh, um, that sheet of paper. You can go home. I just want to say something. A lot of bad things have happened to me over the past, let me say, 7 years. In spite of that, I've managed to learn a lot. Not because of the bad things, but just other things have happened at the same time. So I'm really just trying to sift through all my experiences and figure out what went into what. Because a lot of times, when you get stronger in the midst of turmoil, it's hard to process. So, yeah, put up some more shorts. What am I saying here? What's the character of this? For Rin Q6I asks, how has your day been so far, bro? Thank you for the question. I guess it's been okay. Honestly, I've been asleep most of the day, at least as far as I can tell. Because really, I don't follow like a 9 to 5 schedule, and I don't really divide up my time even day by day. I just go and I do things. So sometimes something might have happened within the last 24 hours, but to me it feels like it happened a while ago. But I think I went live less than 24 hours ago. But anyway, at least since I did my last live stream, I know I got food at some point, and then I went to sleep. I would say it's been okay, because I've been thinking about things, and then I'm just resting. So it's been okay. Thank you for that. And then Rin Q6I followed up with any plans for the rest of it. That's a good question. Not in particular, but I just have my general overall, I guess, life movement plan. So whenever I'm up and I'm ready to go, I'm just going. As for payment for public appearances elsewhere. Another thing I'm upset about, because of, I've talked a lot about what I call my ordeal. I was just reading the comment. Thank you for the comment. Um, Basically, my ordeal, which centers around two things. One, getting attacked in a vile and what I'll call euphemistic manner by my younger sister. And then two, getting attacked in a hotel room by my relatives. And then the aftermath of that is I ended up homeless. And I just say this to be clear always around. Homeless does not mean I was literally sleeping on the street. Homeless meant I didn't have a permanent place to stay. And I wasn't sure when that situation would end. So that was very stressful. So, and then the aftermath of that, because I'm not homeless anymore, is still, I have a lot of pain and then instability for that, impacting me in a lot of ways. So, trying to sift through that, I have many, many relatives who harmed and insulted me, and I cannot fully speak about everything for a number of reasons, so that's very upsetting. But I'm slowly doing it more. But it's very frustrating because I've said enough that one, those people can repent, and two, other people could come in and help me. So the fact that I'm still not fully financially secure, because again, that ordeal hit me in a place where one, I was sick, and then two, I wasn't where I wanted to be financially. So then it just made things even harder. So the fact that I'm still going through that is very frustrating. Yeah. Thank you, Rin QC, for your well wishes. Yeah. Um, and another frustrating thing, so many people have behaved in such a way as they believe that I'm going to perish or they hope I'm going to perish. For example, if you don't apologize to someone after you have wronged them in a life or perish situation, it suggests that you think their life doesn't matter and, quite frankly, that you think it's going to end soon. So, you know, it's up. And then, of course, is the people who were doubting Thomases. I gave you my account, both written, and I also sent you a video, and then you already know me. And then you're acting as if you don't believe. And then you have strange methods, or these people have strange methods of trying to verify information. So the first strange method I've seen is wanting a phone call after seeing all this. If you didn't believe my text, you didn't believe the video I sent, if you even watched it, and you don't believe I'm a good person generally from our interactions throughout my life, what is a phone call gonna do? Someone who could lie to you through all those things, could they not lie over the phone? Is my isolated voice the truth? Or is this just a matter of your own pleasure? And then the next one is people who I do not regularly see in person and or I'm not on good terms with wanting to come see me in person. One, that's an insult. These are people who had asked for money and or at least had told I needed money. So you don't give me money, but you have enough money to travel. Some of these people wanted to travel internationally to see me. What is that going to do? That money you used to book your flight, why did you not send it to me? What is that? And then, of course, there's the idea that they could function as a one-man SWAT team. What are you looking into? Are you going to sniff me? What is going on? Anyway. moving there anyway. So, RinQC61 says, "Good luck, man." Thank you very much for that. Good luck to you as well. and everyone. I want to once again, I think from now on, whenever I give out a mercy, a bonus piece of information is the title of a live stream. I have to go into depth. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I guess part of the purpose of this exercise is to get me to go into depth about things that are no brainers to me. I think I'm going to start in one place. You see, one of the people who attacked me, again, I don't like using this word because this word causes a lot of problems. But let's just say it. My uncle Peter Ibe, that is the younger brother of one of the younger brothers of my biological dad, Anthony Ibe. You see, Anthony's the oldest of six. The first four are boys. Peter is the youngest boy. Peter is a Trump supporter. And Peter displayed the worst kind of behavior you could ever see. For the record, Anthony's the worst one, but Peter's still pretty bad. What am I saying here? His support of Trump doesn't make any logical sense because that is a black man who's not born in the United States. And it comes from a wealth of bad character, and that bad character ended up showing itself in the worst way personally. And I'll just say this, I'd seen a lot of bad character out of him throughout my life, but I thought there was bounds to it. I thought the bounds were enough that I could continue interacting with him um, while I was um, getting a full. Um, a better way of saying that is I thought I could continue interacting with him while I was investigating in depth the problems with my family. You see. So how does that tie in with the bonus piece of information, the Ibarra? The title of this live stream, Do Not Vote for MAGA Candidates. Really, I'm signifying. How do I go beyond that? It seems like a no-brainer to me. Because I don't know what to do with people who genuinely think it's a good idea to vote for MAGA candidates. Did I say vote for support? I can't always see the title. Really, I can't see the title after I've started the live stream. I don't remember the exact wording I used, but you get the idea. If someone forced you to vote, you're absolved. That's something else. But if you have free will and you choose to, well, let's deal with another scenario. Say you have free will, but you feel pressure to vote. Say there's peer pressure. One, why not lie? There's someone in the ballot with you. You can lie about who you vote for. Why actually vote for them? But then there would be the matter of outward support. Let's deal with that. You feel pressure to say you support. Well, are you then being forced to support? Let's say you could not support them openly, it's just these people would get on you. First question is, why are you around them? There's no one you categorically need to be around when they're being bad to you. Now, there's different ways to downgrade from interaction. A lot of people run away too fast. A classic example is if there are people in a family who do not like each other and one completely disengages instead of beginning a dialogue. Ideally, a dialogue should be begun. But there's cases when someone has committed an act of evil against you so great you shouldn't be near them. Just stop interacting with them. And again, if you attempt to begin a dialogue and they escalate their acts of evil, just stop interacting. So what's the point here? In order to not be the target of my criticism, say you've been pressured to support a MAGA candidate and MAGA in general, you have to at least try and disengage with the people pressuring you. If they, end up jidegi, yeah, it's Hard to say everything completely in English and feel happy. But anyway, if they end up just capturing you, then you're in a different category. Okay, let's say you have complete free will. These are the people who confounded me. Should I use Peter as an example? What's going on with Peter? Why does Peter support Trump? Let me think of my interactions with Peter. What would happen when Peter would say he supported Trump? I would really comment on it very little. I would comment around the comment. Why is that? Many reasons for that. But I don't know what to do. Anyway, well, that's something to contemplate. Let me move again. Give me a second. This is the other problem I'm having. I know what people say when they give justifications for supporting Trump, but to contemplate the inner life of that, it seems like to fear qui. Like, I don't know if I can. I really have to think and prepare before I talk about it because it's vile. Say you believe that the government should tell people where they should live. Again, talking around that in detail is vile. People who believe that the government should tell people where they should live, generally speaking, are very racist. What does that mean? They have a race of people and or a perceived race of people, because a lot of time they're going off of stereotypes of group. They have a race of people or perceived race of people. They just don't want to exist. That's vile. So to talk about the detailed inner life of that, I don't know. This is another problem I have. When I look at the MAGA ocean, the more I look at it, the more it becomes clear to me that most of the people there brazenly do not fit the criteria of people Trump would like. Let's just deal with race. I think most of the MAGA people I see, and again, maybe I'm not seeing most MAGA people, most of the MAGA people I see seem to be of mixed race. What does that mean? You're black to some degree. And keep in mind, there are also black people who have lived in Europe historically, okay? And you can, and let me just leave it at that. Let me be simple. Let me just give two examples of that. One, the Roman Empire went way north into what we now call Germanic areas and even into England. And then that was in terms of where their borders were. And they went beyond their borders. The Romans were not purely Caucasian. That's very easy to see. So if you're descended from them, there's no way you'd be purely or it's very hard to be purely Caucasian. One. Two, look up the Vikings and look up black Vikings. There were black people in Scandinavia during the Viking era. And I want to point out that um, the era of the Vikings overlapped with, and I'm just going to say it my way, the 10th war to remove the leaders. Agawipeze Adol. I know people tend to refer to that time period with other names. I I just think the common ways of referring to that are so inaccurate, I don't want to do it. But just think the time period from about 700 AD to 1865, right? There are Vikings in Europe 1,000 years ago. That's in that time period. Again, there was a lot of stuff going on internationally. Anyway, what am I saying there? Even if someone says my ancestors are from Europe, good good chance they have some black DNA. Anyway, what am I saying? If you look at a lot of MAGA supporters, a lot of them are of mixed race. Then you have some prominent individuals who are very clearly black. What am I saying here? It's confounding. You have a lot of them, and yes, people who don't support MAGA or generally speaking, you know, have more black ancestry than them. But nonetheless, given how racist Trump and that slogan is, it's something to behold that there's so many supporters like that. And then even if you look into to go into that, I think I'll leave it at that. I hope you guys get my point. So that's really confounding. One, you can ask how genuine it is, but then the question is, why are they faking? But then two, to the extent it's genuine, what is the inner life of that? I think one thing my ancestors have been asking me to do is to consider more the inner life of people other than myself. You see, I have a lot of trouble doing that because in our world today, whenever someone asks you, and generally speaking, this is what it's been to me, to contemplate the inner life of another person that you don't like or don't agree with, they're trying to get you to validate that person. That's not me. Because that person had thoughts in their mind, they're good. That's crazy. Anyway. Ask for payment for early morning. Abu Mamadi Abu Mamadi Abu Mamadi Abu Mamadi Abu Mamadi Abu Mamadi 1K time on the 1K time to one. Abu Mamadi Kawamaki here. MAGA. What do I think of MAGA? Make America Great Again. I think it's an insult because that statement is so wrong that for someone to say it, they're playing in your face. Make America. One, what is America? Conceptually, like, do not be daft. What is America? Someone drew some lines on a map and said the pieces of land in these lines are part of America. What does that mean? I could draw lines on a map and make a bunch of statements. I could look at on North America, draw a square there, and say everything in this square is part of Squareville. Does that make it true? No. So one, what is America? That's nonsense. Make it great. That is vague. But I guess if you're speaking quickly, you have to be vague to an extent, right? But that's why when you have to say things like that, it has to be accompanied by action and a collective understanding. Do we have a collective understanding of what it means for America to be great? No. So that's nonsense. And then again, what does that mean? Because the lore around America in conservative circles, and yes, for the record, they're conservative circles among people who support so called liberals. The lore is that America has been great for a long time. But then when you go into their details, all they're talking about is how we were in decline. We were in decline in the 1800s or something. Something bad was going on. Something bad was going on in the 20s. Something bad was going on in the 40s. Something bad was going on in the 60s. Something bad has been going on since the 60s. But then every once in a while, people nitpick. Something bad was going on in the 80s, but someone was in office. I liked him. It was a good time. What is that? That is nonsense. I mean, people have said this so many times. What era are you taking us back to when you say make America great again? This is signification. And then we know the associations, racism and all that nonsense. But it's just an insult to be that brazen. And then their symbols. Those red caps that are not meant for our category of life. What is the point of someone in our category of life putting a hat like that on their head? It doesn't even fit properly. So you just get up to insult me. What does it mean if someone gets up and gives you a brazen insult? That is a threat. So they're just threatening you in a lazy way. They're saying you think you're weak. Or they're saying rather they think you are weak and can be removed. So yeah, what do I think of MAGA? I think it's just a deleterious, brazen insult. That's what I think. this form of work? What are my clients paying for? Writing a private conversation, a live stream where I go over what I can say publicly, and then there should be a fourth thing. I don't know what that is. There's a block there. I'm thinking. I'm gonna do her. Alright. Stop thinking on that one. Let's think on this one. Ask for payment. For. Alright. Writing. Oh, I should explain. Ooh. Oh wow. I'm gonna do her, he, hey, ho, her. I'm gonna do her, he, hey, ho, her. I'm gonna do he, hey, ho, her. I'm gonna do her, knee, yeah. I'm gonna do her, mother, iwe, never. Iwe, kaka. I'm boom, iwe, I'm gonna do her. I'm boom, I'm gonna do her. Unu dungu, I'm gonna do her. Unu dungu, I'm gonna do her. Kabrinam Nogoha. Let's strengthen the connection. You see, your relationship with your ancestors is like your relationship with any other group of people. There can be miscommunication. Think of late, my ancestors have been trying to drive home. There's a message from them I've been missing. I'm trying to understand it. And yes, it has to do with, I'll just say my relationships with other people. No, they're not asking me to go soft on other people. They're just telling me I'm missing something. That's all. I'ma do her, he, hey, ho, her. 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 I'ma do her, he, hey, ho. I'ma do her, he, hey, ho, her. I'ma do her, he, hey, ho, her. I'ma do her, he, hey, ho, her. Ha! I'ma do her, Marcha, yeah. Abu Marcha, I'ma do Abu Marcha, cake. One other thing I want to say. You see, there's a particular insult I've been dealing with where someone is a hypocrite. Being a hypocrite is actually an insult. Do as I say, not as I'm doing. Goes without saying too much. I'll leave it at that. I've been dealing with a lot of hypocrites, and hypocrites who are emboldened by societal custom. Let's see. They're also playing. They're also paying for an explanation. Explanation. It is written. Interesting. Not sure yet. Abu Masha Amadioha, Abu Masha Kikeka. Once again, considering the inner life of a genuine, let's say a genuine black male Trump supporter, what is that inner life? And I feel like I can't speak it. It's vile. What can I speak about such a thing? This is like writing. You see, one of the reasons I majored in English in college, and again, every time I talk about college, I add in this disclaimer. I don't endorse college. I think it's part of a broken system. Just because someone did not go to college and or did not quote unquote do well in college does not mean they were a bad person. And I say this as someone, and I just say this again to signify upon one, common misconceptions about people who criticize things. Everyone assumes that because you criticize something, you weren't good at it or whatever. Not true. Two, people have insulted me deeply in the matters of my intelligence, accomplishment, and put togetherness. I'm very put together. It's just, I'm not at my peak health. At the time when my ordeal began, I was really not at my peak health, and I've been attacked. But anyway, I say all this about college as someone who graduated on time from Harvard University with a GPA that I was told was good. So, you know, and this is someone who really was not that obsessed with GPA. It wasn't as high as I wanted it to be, but one, I have crazy standards for myself. And two, I just really get annoyed when I see lack of perfection. So, you know, that's what that is. But anyway, I talked to a counselor at Harvard because you have the option of doing that just to get advice. My GPA was over 3 because it's out of 4. It was like a 3.1 or something. They told me that was actually good. I was like, okay. But I can't speak for most colleges, but at least at Harvard, the expectation is you do a lot outside of class as well. So because of that, and because not everyone's taking the same classes, I just wasn't looking at GPA in terms of like competition. And really, when I started taking the classes I wanted to take, I was satisfied with my GPA, really. Because just to speak of my college trajectory, and I know some people be in college now. Hopefully, this helps you somehow, even though I don't endorse being in college. Let me just finish the college conversation. College is just not a good measure of someone's overall worth. And in specific lanes, it's not even a measure of accomplishment. It's really testing your ability to do what is known as me ekwensu. which is a subset, which has as a subset of it write and generate ideas when you're at your lowest, and that's a very specific skill. Not that it doesn't have value; it's just that's just one thing. So yeah, that system has to be reformed, especially because college just is too stressful. It just bad for people's health, too stressful. Anyway, as for my college trajectory, when I went into college, I was pre med because I was thinking for a number of reasons of being a doctor, but like I wasn't super enthusiastic because I am passionate about improving people's health. It's just I wasn't enthusiastic of the lifestyle of being a doctor because I've seen what that is up close. Because again, my dad's a doctor. One of the reasons he's a bad person is because he's a doctor. That whole lifestyle's destroyed his ability to be normal. You see, I'm not saying that every doctor handles it badly. I just think that medical school's too stressful, and then I don't know. It just seems to me like a lot of I want to be careful here. I'll just say it like this. I think that a lot of the options doctors are given to work can end up being unhealthy because it's too stressful. But I won't say that for everyone because I've heard of doctors who keep a reasonable schedule. But it's just I've seen a lot of not doing that. But certainly medical school residency is very stressful. And I think we have a habit in society today of thinking that because someone survived something, it didn't impact them. Is that why people aren't apologizing to me in my case? Do they think because I survived what they put me through that it didn't hurt me? Do they think I've gotten everything back? Do they think if they harm someone they survive, they don't even need to apologize? You know what? Let's go back on the screen. I think I'm figuring out where my ancestors like to talk to me in this particular space. That's what I'm doing. Because I move into some places, they run away. And then when I'm here, they light up. Okay, so they like me being here. So they can talk to me here. And that's when I deliver a message. Let's try one. Let's see. Let's continue with the thing that makes me hurt. The inner life of a black male Trump supporter. Let me come up with two things about that. Here, I was going into English. Let me finish that up. So, long story short, doctor, I wanted to help improve people's health, but I wasn't enthused about being a doctor because one, um, what it might do to my inner life because of stress, and two, I'm not all about spending a lot of time on one person, or don't know how to explain it. It's like doctors will spend a lot of time on one patient and they don't at the same time. Like you gear up to sit down in front of a patient, but you're only there for 15 minutes. That doesn't really make sense to me. It's like if I'm gonna help an individual with their problem, then I have to go to war, and we're just gonna remove the whole thing. You see, so that didn't seem quite right. But there are aspects of being a doctor I liked, because I'd shadowed doctors before, um, and I just looked into it, but I was kind of conflicted going into college. But also, I was very sad overall because there was just a lot of bad stuff. Is it accurate to say there was bad stuff going in my life? That doesn't seem comprehensive enough. That's true. But it's more just my life had been very depressing, you know. Because I was just. The people who were supposed to raise me just put me in a nonsense situation, you see. And I think there's a duality to this. On the one hand, I think they thought I was doing fine because I did well in school. On the other hand, they, one, did not contextualize school properly, and two, they didn't give me enough props for doing well in school. Like, to say I did well in school is kind of a crazy insult because it minimizes it. I mean, if you just know how school works, being a straight A student throughout, I went to competitive schools as well, and then getting into Harvard, they should have done a lot more. And then if you couple that with the fact they didn't contextualize it, they just really, I mean, this is the thing. I think these people expect me to pat my own back all the time or something. It's strange because how do I explain it? I think if I'd gone around and maybe lied about how I felt about school, like all the time I was like, oh, school is wonderful, maybe they would have congratulated me more. But I was just very honest. School was terrible. Particularly once I got to high school, school was not fun. You see, um, yeah, school was not fun. Um, and then college. I mean, that's big. So yeah. So I'm being critical of school in general, and then my experiences in school. And instead of supporting me on my healing journey, but then also giving me some sort of congratulations. Because again, I'm not meant to figure out how to congratulate myself. That is ihan lihan. That's nonsense. But instead of doing that, they really just kind of fell away over time. You know, I think there was a lot of jealousy there. Um, yeah. Anyway, there were a lot of nonsense. Anyway, so I was talking about English. To contextualize that, let me talk about my college journey as I was doing. So that's the doctor thing. I went in pre med. Pre med classes were hard for me because of math. I'm just not good at actually doing mathematical calculations. I'll say it like that. Understanding the overall concept of math, great. But if you ask me to go through and do all the calculations, no, I'm not the calculator. So really, to get through pre med in college, you have to be your own calculator. That's not me. Um, but you know, I did. I mean, the grades were. This is the other thing, though. I wish I could go back. Is there a way for me to go back retrospectively and compare my grades to other people? So at Harvard, people were competitive in a weird way. The competition is, let's just not talk about what's going on. So then there's like a code of silence. So it was hard for me to gauge what's going on with other people. And then people get sensitive. So, but what were my pre med grades? Really, in like the B. Do I remember what it was? because my pre-med class grade at point average, I think it was like a 2.5 or something like that. I was calculating that. So what is that? Because A is 4, B is 3, C is 2. So it's like B to C, you know. So, I like the A range, but it just wasn't there. But at the same time, you know, college at that level is different. It's not all just about the letter grade you get. So anyway, there was that. But whenever I took humanities classes, I get an A or an A minus. So, but I always majored in English because some of you might be or might not know, but in the U.S., pre-med is not a major in college. It's just a separate set of classes you take. It's like a track, but you always have your own major. At Harvard, they call it concentration. So I always concentrated in English, and then eventually I did English joint with African studies because I took a lot of African studies classes. But anyway, what am I saying here? English I always did very well. So that was just more my speed, really just because of the math thing. So I wish I'd caught on to that earlier and just been like, because eventually I stopped doing pre-med because it just, because one, and again, I want to say this, I didn't stop pre-med just because, and I don't even know how to speak this. Oh, Lord. Because this just brings me back to a lot of arguments I had with Anthony, because Anthony wanted to dictate my whole life, even though he doesn't understand what's going on. I'm just going to say it like that because Anthony does not understand the context of my life. Anthony would often say he didn't understand how the U.S. school system worked, yet he would always dictate what I did in school. Does not make any sense. Okay, because Anthony was born and raised outside the U.S., and that's where he did all his schooling before his first medical degree. So and again, he did that decades ago. So he just never experienced my context and then really didn't bother to understand it well enough to know things. But anyway, and again, Anthony's my biological father, and use your brain. Why am I not using an endearing term for him? One, even if you have a good relationship with your Anthony's not my father. He's my biological father, but just because you're a biological father doesn't mean you're a father. You actually have to be a good parent. Father is an exalted term. You can't just throw that term on. Give me a second. Forgive me, I'm just trying to make sure I articulate myself in the best way. But yes, as I was saying, father is an exalted term. So we cannot throw the term on every we cannot throw that term on every man who has conceived a child. That's not good enough. At the same time, every man who conceives a child should become a father, as in there's a certain amount of exaltation that every person in this world should attain. I'll leave it at that. Anyway, Um, Pre med. So, at some point, I decided to leave the pre med track, but this is not because of a lack of ability to complete it. Let me just say it at that. This is not because of a lack of ability to complete it, and this is also not because I found myself in some sort of no comeback zone. That's not it. Okay, that's not what was going on. I just looked at it and I saw two things. One, I did not enjoy doing the pre med track as much as I wanted to enjoy my work, and that's important. There is no point in doing what I call fema dioha inkenshi, just pushing through something even when it hurts, just to prove you can do it. Let me give an example. If I wanted to, I could pull down the lights here. There's no point in me doing that. Me going through the pre-med track is like me pulling down a bunch of lights from the ceiling just to prove I'm King Kong. That doesn't make any sense. So, anyway, one, pre-med was not enjoyable for me. Two, when I thought about it, I became convinced that I did not want to become a doctor, at least at that time. So I said, let me fall back. And I'll leave it at that. I'll go into more in the future. So I just did more other classes, and um, it's better than it would have been had I continued with pre med. Let me say it like that. I mean, my grades were better, yes, um, but Harvard was still a rough environment anyway. Um, why am I going into this? Right, because our main project is to understand the inner life of a black male MAGA supporter. Okay. Again, I talked about Nick Cannon yesterday. A genuine one. So, one of the reasons I studied English is because it allows you to look into archetypes, right? Anyone who's done literature can understand that, because you have to examine the characters, think about why they're doing what they're doing, and profile them. That's also helpful for your life. And also, I like telling stories. I tell stories here a lot. I think the one thing that was giving me trouble before is I thought there was such a thing as a fictional story. I no longer believe that. Because I think any story you're looking at, even in English, it's happening somewhere. It's just you have to figure out, one, where it's happening, and two, if it's just one story. Yeah, I need to re-examine some of the stories I wrote in college as well. So think of how to debut them. And then also look at my superhero universe that my ancestors always laugh at, because that was Ikejeni, Outer Limit stuff. But it's one of the foundations of my media company here. Yeah. Anyway, just to go into that quickly, I created a my own superhero universe because the main goal of that was to tell superhero stories in a pro-black manner. Um, so yeah, I haven't fully debuted it yet, but I'm gonna do it. It just the caveat has to be the whole thing taken together is not it's not one coherent true story. It's just that because it's like when you try and make things up, what you're doing is you're fitting pieces of different real stories together. So that's not the best way to tell stories, but there's still some value in looking at that. I just have to sift through it. But I was really looking at a lot of archetypes of the things that I talk about now and stories that have happened uh, for real in other realms. Anyway, and then also some of it was stuff that relates to me. But yeah, anyway, archetyping. Now, you know what? Let's do this exercise. Because I've done this before. Here we go. Let's do it here. Let's do a black male Trump supporter. Let's name him John Smith. Let's figure out what's going on with him. Kaburnam Nalgoha. Actually, let's call him John. Let's call him John Y. Why are you a Trump supporter, John Y? Let's look at this. John Y is a black male Trump supporter. All right, let's tell the story of John Y in terms of his inner life. Yes. Okay. Let's look at four things. You know what? I get it. Anytime I see a person or group of people I don't understand, I need to look at their inner life. Currently, I tend not to do that just because I feel like I'm just speculating. And quite frankly, when you're dealing with people you don't understand and there's some hostility, at least I've found they tend to lie to me. So when I'm dealing with liars, I tend to just leave them alone until I have my SWAT team together and then I could just figure out what the truth is. But my ancestors are telling me that I need to engage them before the SWAT team more. They don't even want to say more. They're saying I should just engage the liar before the SWAT team. I don't know how I feel about that. All they'll do is explode. And quite frankly, I find whenever someone has the gall to lie to me, they have a lot of supporters. So there are people who support them in the lie. So to go up against them, I have to deal with a horde of liars. And that's just too much. Anyway. Thinking here. All right, John Y. So, what are the four pillars of inner life? I don't know. Let's see. Let's engage with this concept. Inner life apparently is the head of the good husband of the people. Let me talk about that concept more. Yes, I know. I am the head of the good husband of the people. Yes, I know. I don't have the full proof right now. At least that I can show outwardly. What does that mean? There are 49 things that underpin all of existence. These things are full of both people and non people. The self has five components. In a normal person in this world, each of the five components has a different thing. So 99% of people are not composed of just one thing, because everyone's being springs from the self. But everyone's self is at least 70% one thing. That's their primary thing. Each of the things, though, needs an onishi, a head person. That person is a member of our category of life, they're God, and they are 100% of the thing. Now, again, the caveat is they don't all need to be born at the same time. Okay, my ancestors tell me that not all of us are actually born on this planet yet, but, you know, yeah, they don't all need to be born at the same time, but, eventually, given in a given 300,000 year cycle, give or take some units, everyone should be born, right? There obviously should be a long period of time when all 49 are here, right? Well, apparently Onishi, because let me not go into this. Apparently Onishi Akwensu, like because some of the things apparently they have a proper head and then they have like stand-in heads. So for example, Onishi Akwensu, the proper head is apparently only here once every 300,000 year cycles. Because if he's here too much, he'll destroy everything. But anyway, but side note, if you're very secular, just have fun with what I'm saying. Isn't it like a superhero story? Amadio, Amadia, Amadio, Kanua, Amadio, Kika, Abumamadio, Anyway, Iwe, Abumiwe. Alright, so 49 Onishi plus some certain things will have a backup one. The Atumatu of Onishi, the idea of it is me, Onishi Kalakano. Side note, there are many planets, so there are really many Onishi. Each planet has its own set of Onishi. So no, I'm not the only Onishi Kalakano. That's in this world, the physical world. You also have Onishi in other realms. You have Onishi in Hellfire. Again, most of Hellfire is not bad. It's just, that's the name of it. And then you have Onishi in other realms and Onishi even in the outer limits. Okay. So, because again, there are people in all those realms, right? So, and also some of the saints can become Onishi. For example, Ele, ironically, when he's a proper person, he's a different saint known as Shangele. Shangele, aka proper deer, the proper deer, aka Ejibele, can become Onishi Kalakana, because the saints can change their selves. It's just their being and their person's the same. Interesting. Anyway, Onishi Kalakana. You can also call him Ada Karata. Ada, first daughter. Yes, in certain scenarios, a man can be called a daughter. It just the terminology. Karata, self-protection. Ka, greater than. Ra, let me do it the other way. Kara, greater than. Ta, the bite, also piercing. Think about it. When you bite something, you're piercing in it. Piercing into it. The animal you call rhinoceros. That's it. As an animal. But it's also a thing. Self-protection. Alright, what does that mean? Basically, Onishi Kawakano is in charge of self-protection. And he must be protected for everyone else to be protected. No, I'm not saying that you need to spend every waking moment of your being trying to protect me. I'm just talking metaphysically. Anyway, what am I saying here? Each of these onishi, as a concept, are also tied to beings. The beings are tied to concept. The concept of inner life apparently is tied to onishi kalakana, because apparently when he's himself, his inner life is more complicated than anyone else's, and that's the base of inner life. So, what am I saying here? I'm just trying to get information from my ancestors, like reading a book. They give me a book to read, I read it out loud. Let's look at this. Should I just look at myself? No. What are the four pillars of inner life? What's my goal here? I'm trying to understand the inner life of black male Trump supporters so that I have an additional piece of information in trying to end the phenomenon of Trump support. You know what? I see it now. Because black people are important, any group that wants power needs to have, or at least appear to have, black supporters. So without black Trump supporters, Trump support ironically could not explode. Because they need to at least put up some black people to say they're legitimate. Here we go. That's interesting. That makes sense. Abu Shangele, Abu Shangele, Abu Shangele, Abu Shangele, Abu Shangele, Shangele, Shangele. Osebarua can also become Onishi Kalakana. Four pillars of inner life. Let's go. Kabrunam no Goha. One, I will call it your love life. Yes. What is the love life of a black male Trump supporter? Okay. I mean, that makes sense. It's mixing with everything. Okay. Two. Let's go over to the third quadrant here. Hope you guys can see what I've written. Let's say I'm gonna call it non how do you say this? I'm gonna say Nduekeji. As in your Ekejike. 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 What is that? That is your life with your blood relatives. And to be more specific, your blood relatives who are in your gene pool, aka your no romance zone. Yes, it's very crude, but I don't know how to say it. Because anyone who's a part of your race is a blood relative, because literally a race is an origin point. But here I'm speaking of the members of your race who are part of your ekeji, okay? Because not every member, I mean, the vast majority of the members of your race are not part of your ekeji, right? It's hard to find easy terms to split them, but it's clear what I'm saying. Anyway, really, a lot of this is English. I can say this in my language pretty well. Love life. Nduekeji. What are the other components of inner life? Oh, what color? Okay, what do I mean here? When I say love life, in terms of inner life, that's both your thoughts about your love life and your actual engagement in it. Then with the Indu Ekeji, that's your thoughts about your Ekeji and your engagement with it. I'm just gonna keep saying Ekeji. battery is still good. Yeah, battery is fine. Okay. This pillars of inner life, love life, and do AKG. Oh, Ahuike. Let me put that one. The top corner is in health. Ahuike. Obviously. And then Akonuche. What translation? Directions. Okay, but what does. How do I explain that in common English? Basically, the word Akonuche associated with intelligence, things like that. I think most people who speak my language today, from my reference point, Igbo language, IGBO language, look it up if you're unfamiliar, would probably translate Akonuche as like intelligence or common sense. But according to my ancestors, it's a lot deeper than that. The one word they've given me to as a translation is directions, but that's not or like direction even like your direction in life is action Akonuche, and then other people can help you get direction in life, but I mean it's kind of crazy if one person gave you direction in life. I mean that's the problem in the world today. One person, like for example, a lot of parenting, there's too much isolated parenting, so you have one parent telling their kids what to do. That's crazy. Are you God? Anyway, AKGK, 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 KashK, Abu AKGK, Amonike, Abu AKGK, Amonike, AKGK, KK, Abu AKGK, KK, AKGK, KK. AKGK, KK, Abu AKGK, Nomonike, Abu AKGK, Nuaya, AKGK, Abu Amadioha. Okay, let's look at this. I'm just gonna be, do I want to shift the screen? No. Let's test this. How entertaining are my live streams when I'm not there? Okay, you can see that screen there. This is a TV that's behind me. It's flashing images. You can look at that as I speak. Let's look at John Y., who's a black male Trump supporter. So what are the 4 pillars of inner life I'm examining here? Love life. Akonuche, directions in life. Nduekeji, that's his life with the members of his Ekeji, is in his family and or blood relatives who should be family. Yeah, that's actually what that means. Family and or blood relatives who should be family. Significatory language, but it is what it is. And then Ahuke, his health. So what is the love life of a black male Trump supporter? I think it's probably terrible, because, not many other black people support Trump. And I also have to add this, because of the Republican Party's position on romantic relationships between people of the same gender, it's likely that a black male Trump supporter is only engaging with, at least openly, relationships with women, or attempting to. And because women support Trump at much lower rates than men, that makes it hard. And then specifically, if you're looking at black women who supported the lowest rate, not that there won't be any relationships between black people and white people, but um, you know, how do I want to articulate this? Basically, very few black people do not want any romantic relationships with other black people. So chances are, is that even relevant? Does a black male Trump supporter, in their conscious mind, I'll just say it like that, want relationships with other black people? That's a question. Anyway, let's just say the love life is bad. Let's just say it's bad. Do I have to go deeper than saying it's bad? Yes, my ancestors are screaming. They're saying this is part of my issue. All I do is look at people and get the big idea. They're bad. They want me to make it clear to the audience, though. That is the big idea with people like this. They're bad. So if you're not on, basically, there are a lot of people who really should just get the big idea. If you're not, Ezua Mobuadua, and or you're one of the victims of these people, just go, okay, they're bad, and run away. That's it. Okay. Because you don't need to clean all that up. Anyway, love life bad. Okay. All right. Akonuche, direction in life bad. Okay, my ancestors want me to do more, but I'm just saying this is what I do. I just go, is it good or bad? It's bad. Okay. Um, this is so theoretical. What are the details? Can I even speak about that openly? That's vile. You support Trump. Bad, obviously. The love life is bad. What are the details of that? Probably unspeakable. Anyway. Ndu Ekeji. I mean, does it exist? I mean, my family's weird now. The Trump supporter emerged. He wasn't, there wasn't a meeting. I mean, I've always known my family was weird. So I'm not the guy to come out here and say my family's normal. I mean, I don't even need to keep going on about that. I mean, my family's not normal now. That's pretty clear. Ndu Ekeji. Non-existent. Should I just start doing what I feels like making things up? Alright, and then Ahike. Ele. Because he's for Trump. I would get Ahike. Okay. So, interesting question. Do my ancestors want me to, and I'm seeing how these live streams should go. Yes, I should have other people with me and they should just be like, hey, move here, move here, move here. Yeah. Yes, talking to your ancestors is an active process. I understand. Yes, anyway, we'll build up to that. Ha. Okay, why am I looking at this? It's currently 4:48 a.m. here in Atlanta. Mm, uh, for the first time today, I had blueberry powder. I ordered some. It's good. I recommend getting it. Blueberry powder. Okay. Let's start with the love life. The love life is bad. Let's give some details about John Y. Okay, let's say that um and this is an inherent problem when focusing on people. If you're focusing on one person in Atumatu, you're saying that that is Amadioha. That is a good husband of people. So when Amadioha is bad, that's Ele. What does that mean? We're looking at Ele, and you're supposed to have Welele. So this is a flag on the play. Hmm. What does that mean now? But they're telling me to look at Ele. What does that mean? The game is over. This is real. Oh, wow. Ele Biaranuwa. Hmm. Okay. Let's come up with four relevant details about John Y's love life as to why it's bad. And I'm gonna begin secular with these, and then I'll give the spiritual underpinnings of what's going on with this guy. Yes. Do a Madio Shango. Another piece of information. The game that we refer to as Capture the Flag is actually a sport. That is called Shango. Undu a Madioha sport, and it's supposed to have many more components to it. But long story short, that's something that should be played more, and to the extent that we've forgotten things, rehabilitated. Because apparently, like acting, stage playing is a part of that. Because a lot of stuff that we don't consider sports is actually supposed to be part of them. So anyway, wow. I remember when I first started live streaming, I would overplan them. Not that they were bad. Check them out, my initial live streams starting in 2022. But I would overplan them now. Built up a skill. Mm. Alright, Kabunam no go ha. Abumo ha. Abumo ha. Okay. Give me, I'm feeling some pain. Abumo ha. Abumo ha. Okay, let's put up a short. So I need to remember it's 2026. Yeah, at the end of this year there'll be midterm elections. Yeah. I hope I have everything together enough that I can vote on ballot measures. It's just I need to get a lot of other things in order. Let's see. Bad love life. What are four things? The big thing here is that I think the big thing here is he does not understand love. He does not understand love. What does that mean? Ah, the manosphere appears. Here we go. He does all that nonsense, of course. That's why there's that thread there. Ouch, and it's painful to even contemplate. Erika Duneva, Abumo Pale Edika, Abu Medika Birenoa, Abu Mamadio, ha. 5 a.m. This is a sacred time, apparently. This is Ogamadio, Kanye Boa, Ogamadio, Obo Ogamadio, Kanye Femadio, Femadio, Kanye Femadio, Femadio, Kanye Femadio, Femadio, Kanye Femadio, Femadio, Onishikala Kanu, Abu Munishi Kalakana, Abu Munishi Anumana, Abu Kalakana, Kalakana, Kalakana. Abu Munishi Kalakana, Abu Munishi Kalakana, Kaladri Kalakana, Kaladri Anumana. Abu Munishi Kalakanu Karakanu Wano Kika. Abu Munishi Kalakana. Abu Munishi Anumana. Abu Anu Manu Monakanu Kanu Naka. Abu Mamadio hey. Abu Moki Keika hey. Abu Si Say Susa Siri Say Si Say Susa Sa. Abu Mamadio, Abu Monishi Sosa, Abu Sosa Mone Boanku, so, 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 go together, go together, so nasa, go together and wash. Go together and wash the world. So Mario Hankichi. Interesting. 502, the more sacred time. Monishi Kalakana. 501, Kalakana. 5, Amadioha. 501, Kalakana. 502, Monishi Kalakana. Ikenga Magioha. Amadioha Kalakana. No Nishiha. Abumi Kenga Madioha. This is Amadioha Radio. Welcome to the beginning of the day. I am the day, I am the time. I'm contemplating grave evil. An evil person is still a person, therefore it has an inner life. Disturbing. Amadioha Radio. Bumonishi Kalakana. Hmm. 505, Oshun. Yes, I'm going to use Kala Council. Thinking about some disturbing things. Anyway. Ooh. Let's see. He does not understand love, therefore he does manosphere nonsense. Okay. What does that mean, though? Now, let's just tie this in with health. The health is not there. So, really, on a granular level, the cause of being an evil person is bad health. This is the thing, though. One, people have a degree at least, and there are caveats to that, obviously, because no, not every person who has an illness is bad, and definitely it's not necessarily their fault. But people have a degree. A degree. Yes, I'm looking at you, Anthony. Wanted to blame me for my illness like an evangelical pastor, but people have a degree of responsibility for their health, generally speaking. Okay, there are exceptions. So, if your health is so bad to the point where you're doing things like supporting just the final form of evil, you can be held accountable for that. One. Two, bad health pushes you in certain directions, but you can choose to keep going. So generally, these are people whose health is bad. It pushed them in a certain direction. They chose to keep going. Example, John Y wakes up one day with a headache because his health is bad for various reasons. Someone he knows tells him to come to a Trump rally. He says, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do it. That is stumbling in a wrong direction because he didn't really understand what was going on because he had a headache. This is the problem. After he ended the conversation with that person, he sat down, he thought about it, and he said, let me still go. And he decided to go for bad reasons. This was not due to fear of intimidation or anything like that. That's an example of what I'm talking about. Anyway, let me not destroy this pen. She'll be here. Do my ancestors want me to leave? What about no? They're shaking. think I really need to round out the love life. That is what my ancestors are telling me. Let's see, John Y. Our hypothetical Nekejanu. Yes, this is someone Nekejanu. But if we figure out what's going on with him, we can understand what's going on with his counterparts in the world. Kabrunam Nogoha. Everyone in this world has counterparts in Nekejanu. That is your life double. My counterpart Nekejanu, that's Shangela. What shall I do? What shall I say? Abu Shangele. My challenge is getting involved with a lot of things. I'm not a fiddler. For example, I'm interested in technology, but I'm not a fiddler. So I'm not the guy who's gonna go in and tinker and pick it apart. That's not me. But I'm interested in it. I think I just give it the overall look over. And then, do I come up with the ideas for it? Let's see. What do I mean when I say he does not understand love? I'm not saying that he's not. One thing to consider, a lot of these black male individuals who support Trump, maybe they have a lot of natural ebube, gravitational pull, which is one, why they get noticed, and two, why the phenomenon ends up being so strong, because it has some big backers. What does that mean? Is there something going on with naturally big people? He does not understand love, and his misunderstanding ends up being calamitous. Why? Love is complicated, although in action for most people it should be simple. Although the biggest people are supposed to understand this complicated thing at a very high level. When they don't, they feel bad. Some of them go in a wrong direction. They, one, begin to speak about it when they don't understand it. And they attract a lot of attention. They create a lot of negative ripples. Two, they signify. They just start speaking nonsense to spread their negative emotions. Yes. Because it's weird. In a way now, I think as soon as I hear about Trump, I think of the manosphere because I've seen so much crossover. Could that be what it's all about? Let's think about it. Any person has two big goals, the Amadioha. Their goal number one, the most basic goal, to have a healthy love life. And their goal number two, to manifest the final form of their work. They work hand in hand because we should work with those we love. For a big person, well, are all big people the same in terms of how they value these things and their own subjectivity? What do I mean when I say big? I mean someone whose spirit is naturally big. The bigger your spirit, the more attention it attracts overall. Ugh. I want new shoes. Abumamadio. 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 do I? Love life. He does not understand love. I think another thing I have to realize is I'm not a 100% linear thinker. So sometimes when I set out to do something, that's not really my goal. My goal is just to move. So, for example, when I asked earlier, what do I mean when he says he doesn't understand love? I think my goal was really just to get myself to understand that he should be a high level thinker when it comes to matters of love. But because he's failing, he's just flailing. And then he creates a lot of evil. And then when I'm looking at that manifested on this page here, it's very ugly. Let me show that to you all. Yes. Because obviously there's a huge gender component to the Trump support phenomenon. And then, well, another thought going across my mind. When engaging with the secular versus, I'll call it spiritual dichotomy, I don't know what to do with people. Let me give an example. My parents. For most of my life, I talked secular with them. Why? Because they were very secular Christians, kind of. What do I mean? They're among a bunch of very non-secular Christians in a very non-secular context, but they engage with Christianity very secularly. What does this mean? One, whenever another person really got into spirituality, they get uncomfortable. And then they would let me know that. Generally speaking, after the other person had left. Two, they would always emphasize that they did not like basically the spiritual aspect of Christianity. What does that mean? The default mode of organization with them is talking secularly. Except you'd have to just not say you didn't believe in Christianity. That's very off-putting to me. Nonetheless, I would engage with them in that manner. It wouldn't work. Then I started talking to them non-secularly because I was tired of them not respecting me. They ended up using that as an excuse to destroy me by trying to say I was unwell and also harmful somehow. Anyway, I'm thinking about this. No win. I think I'm just wondering if my non-secular talk had been Christian, say I had been talking about Jesus in a positive manner, or if I had been emphasizing Satan, because for me, I don't like emphasizing Satan, because that is just one evil spirit. The world is not down because of one evil spirit. That's crazy. Anyway, if my secular if my non secular talk had been Christian, would they have respected it? Would they have done the same thing? Or would we just be in a back and forth? 'Cause I'm thinking of a lot of my other relatives who don't talk secularly, at least most of the time, but they do it in a very Christian manner. What is that all about? But they don't really seem to agree, or if they do, what does it mean for them to agree? They're all off in their corner. But then, but no, let me talk about what I've seen. I've seen some relatives, and these are people who are also related to each other. They're not just related to me, right? Because obviously, not all my relatives are related to each other, right? Um, but I've seen some relatives who are also related to each other who, at least in front of me, act very non secularly, or they talk about, hey, Jesus, Jesus, blah, blah, blah. They seem to be on accord about that, but then they have explosive disagreements. What is that all about? But then the disagreements seem to be about worldly things. What is going on there? One major source of conflict I had with my parents was when I was critical of Joe Biden and the Democrats. Yes, that was crazy, but they made a big deal out of that. That disagreement was very secular, but a lot of it was spiritual for me. I just think at the time, one, I couldn't really articulate it. Two, I didn't know how necessary it was to articulate it. Like, do I really need to go on and on about, well, should I just start talking about how Trump, how there's a spiritual side to it? I mean, but if I was up here saying that, oh, Trump is the devil or whatever, would I get more respect from those who produced me? But because I've gone into detail and said other things, they're now insulting me with other talk. Why is the devil the only spirit those people fear? And do they really fear the devil? Look how they act. Look at Anthony, how he behaves. Is that not the devil in this world anyway? And then, I think the thing is, among my relatives, I've never seen someone who talks about the physical and the spiritual together in a way that makes basic sense. Do these people know what's going on? For example, they'll make spiritual claims, they never explain how it manifests physically. I always do that. Even if I'm making a claim that's new. Another thing is, I think they're all distracted by spirituality. Because as soon as a spiritual claim is made, they focus on that and ignore the physical. Why? Habuonia Kejano. 526. Life is renewed. 26 is the number of life. Ugh. Now you waka come. Now you waka come. How long have I been out this? 154. What is that? That's an hour and 54 minutes, I believe. Or is that 154 minutes? No, that's 154 minutes. My bad. So how many hours is that? 120 minutes. That's 2 hours. 20 minus 54. That's 34. So that's 2 hours and 34 minutes. You know? Let's see. Let's say that John Y is unmarried. Okay, what does that mean? No public SO is in relationship. But he does have he has children. Well, I mean that's a product of the love life. It's not the love life itself. What does that mean? Okay, let's say he has publicly known past relationships. Well, is he famous or not? Let's say John Y is famous. Okay, so he has past public relationships, kind of. Okay, what does this mean? I think his love life attracts a lot of attention, but then it also skirts by. What does this mean? It attracts a lot of attention. And let me just say this again so you all know why this is going on. I'm profiling a hypothetical black male Trump supporter because I want to understand the phenomenon of Trump support. And in order to help me do that, I'm trying to understand the inner life of such people just because they're a great obstacle to me. So I'm just profiling a hypothetical person. It attracts a lot of attention, but then it also flies under the radar. What does this mean? People do not really understand his motives. Is his motive primarily to get a good love life? Interesting concept. Let's think of this. Okay. Let me just zoom out and explain my thinking here. There is a huge gender component to Kabrunem Nalgoha. Greetings to my ancestors and all their archers, all my other lineage connections. There are many ways to talk about your bloodline. Anyway, there are many ways to talk about your race. So there's a huge gender component to the Trump phenomenon because Trump is a male supremacist. Obviously, well, I don't know which end to enter this from, but let me just say it like this. People often think of gender when thinking about their love life. But that just seems weird because, I don't know, that just seems weird. I mean, since we're here, let me just say it, and then you'll kind of see my thought process. Again, before I say this, disclaimer. Let me just go with this disclaimer. Just because someone else has a different romantic preference than me does not mean they're bad. Okay? And let me just leave it like that. I hope you get what I mean. Now, in terms of my love life, I only have romantic relationships with women who are female, and that's just how I'll leave it. That's just me. So, for me, that's that's just kind of a footnote in my love life because it's like, well, um, that's just my zone of preference. But then there's so many people who meet that basic criteria out there that's not where I light up. You see, I'm looking at other things like, okay, what? Let me just give two conscious things, but then I'll go into the other thing. For example, what do they like to do? And also, how pleasant are they? Okay, but again, a lot of preferences are subconscious. And then also, a lot of times when we're looking at people, also, I don't like. Let me just say it like this. I don't like just only talking about myself, you see. So it's hard for me to even just completely talk about my own love life here. Let's drive about this in a slightly different way. I think I was just trying to know my positionality there because I'm going to talk about love life in general. I think that's all it was. I hope you know my positionality in relation to the gender relationship thing. What am I saying here? People often think about gender when talking about their love lives and thinking about it. But that just seems weird just because gender is just one aspect of a person. So if you're thinking of the people you're in relationships with, why would you be that focused on their gender specifically? Sure, gender would filter throughout, but so would their race, so will where they were born, so will so many other things. So, okay, I think this is where I'm going. I think we have to remember that a lot of the male supremacists we see have an inner life because they're people, not to glorify them, just to diagnose the problem. They come out and they speak very generally. You know what? I'm seeing it. So let's look on two levels. You have people, let's think of famous people. So you'd have famous people who are a famous male supremacist who primarily talks about supporting Trump. Then you have someone in the manosphere who primarily just talks about dating and they do it in a destructive way. The manosphere guy, oh, the manosphere guy in Atumatu, and I want to just note this. I'm going to say this in my language to be most clear. I hope you get it. Natumatu kara nachuku hapulele. Because the Natumatu, they're better. In Chuku, in the details, a lot can go wrong. So not necessarily. What am I saying here? The manosphere people, Natumatu, are more personal. So they're being in Natumatu, in big idea, more honest about where their problem is. They have a personal problem. They're talking in a more personal realm. Even though talking about relationships in general is not personal, right? You're not most people. The Trump people are less personal in Natumatu, and Chuku go over the place. But they intermix and intermingle because their problem is in the same zone. That's their focus. So I think one good practice, and this might be a little mean, but we have to take it seriously. One good practice whenever we're looking with any male individual who supports Trump, any man who supports Trump, is that we should, in an ethical way, look into their love life. And I think this is part of where I'm going. I think those individuals focus on gender because they understand love so little that all they realize is that the person or people I'm engaging in relationships with has a gender. Wow, okay. Let me just take a break. Let me just also add this. Forgive me, I'm feeling pain. Uh, yeah, I want to get food. It's just I'm not able to yet. But anyway, And again, not because this live stream, I'm not endorsing working through hunger or whatever. I'm just saying like the places aren't open yet. But let me just say it like this: the places that I'm able to get food from, given the resources available to me now, are not yet open. Okay. But anyway, let me go into this more. I think generally speaking, male Trump supporters want to have romantic relationships with people of the opposite gender. But because they don't understand life, all they understand is I want a relationship with someone of the opposite gender. So then they look into gender. And you know what? Wait, where? There's also a dominance issue here. So I think they go, you know what? I need a relationship with the other person. Let me make sure I'm dominant in the relationship. Lord have mercy. All right. Anytime I'm looking at crime, because we're looking at crime here, right? Supporting advanced evil the way the Trump movement does is a crime. Trump movement itself is a crime. MAGA is a crime. Anytime I'm talking about crime, and I've just talked about the criminal mindset, I need to put up a disclaimer. Disclaimer here: relationships should be equal. In a relationship between two people, an additional disclaimer: monogamy is evil, so each of these people should have relationships with other people. But in a romantic relationship between two people, those two people must be on equal footing. And I'll leave it at that. You should know what I mean. So, wanting to be. Because what do we mean by dominant? Because you can have a person who's naturally dominant and a person who's naturally non dominant. But the dominant person does not have to do what most people would describe to as dominate the other person. In fact, they should. What is that? That's oppress. Yes. You should not oppress your love mate. That's vile. But it looks like these individuals, let's say John Y. thinks that life is oppress or be oppressed. So he says, I need to oppress. How can I oppress? Let's see, what are they thinking of? They're thinking gender and race, because the other pillar of the Trump movement is racial supremacy. You know what? I think this is how they do it. Because what always threw me off was the fact that these people are black. Because I've always seen that you have, unfortunately, black male individuals and black men who are male supremacists. But what I'd seen is they tend to duel with white male supremacists. But it looks like some of these black male supremacists believe that male supremacy is integral to their love life. And because their love life is their primary priority, they said, let me just join with the other male supremacists. Why is this a bit of a flag on the play? Because you are a part of your race. So if those male supremacists destroy your race, I mean, you're no longer in this world and you cannot have a love life. So that is a failure of their Zihan. This is where I have to take a step back. What am I looking at here? You know what? Here's another thing. What I've noticed is that a lot of these male supremacists are Christian evangelicals. And I have to say this: Christian evangelicalism is built around doomsday ideology. What does that mean? They think that the rapture is coming. I want to state this. I never ever believe, forgive me, I'm tired. I I have never and will never believe in things like that. The world will never end. It will go on forever. Existence will go on forever. Amadioha. So that's just destructive. But because these people believe that one day everyone will cease to exist, they do not see their race as important, at least primarily. But they are thinking, okay, before the rapture comes, what do I want? I want to have a good love life. So then they go male supremacy because I must oppress my mate. Yes. I think that's why I've been thinking of evangelicalism a lot lately. So, let's see, Ahwike Health. Let's look at the family now. And I'm really gonna go until my battery gets too low. Because do I even have my charger here with me? I don't. But I think that's one of the points of this. Let's look at the family. Nduekeji. That's basically what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to use clinically accurate language. This is a bit of a flag on the play. If you're a famous, because John Y is famous, black male Trump supporter, I'm sure your family has rejected you. But then people who are famous might have abnormal families. What's going on with John Y? I'm just going to say his family's actually not that different than most people's in the world today. I mean, here we go. John Y. He's a hypothetical Trump supporter. So the conditions he's in mirror the conditions of the world today. I'll just say it like that. So his family's unhealthy, but it's not unhealthier than the average family. Okay. I also want to note this. Let's say that John Y is a darker complected black male and that he has relatively curly hair. Let's just say it like that. Okay. And then let's say that the family members he knows look similar to him in those regards. Okay. Forgive me. Yeah, this obviously I have to distill this. Obviously, this will go into an aggression, which is going to be a debut of a new idea. Um, No, it has to go up the ladder. It'll be on the greatest man alive, then aggression, then the hand of God, and then eventually you'll see this in the hand of heaven. Um, but I also want to do more research to support it, but I think you'll see many versions of this. But we got to start with the theory. What does this mean? So his family's rejected him. What does that mean? He basically has no backup, so he's out there operating without backup. This makes the love life more complicated because his focus is his love life. And that's because if something goes wrong in his love life, how do I explain that? Because obviously, like, your family's not like with you on, you know, oh, okay. Anyway, I'm gonna think of how to explain in the future, but for now, I'll just say his lack of family connection makes his overall life worse. And because his overall life is worse, um, it's just hard for him to, have a good life, love life. Okay. Now our Akonuche, life direction. It's bad. Let's do another pillar 4. Forgive me. Also, though, here we go. The challenge: how do I profile this guy without glorifying him? I don't know. I guess I just have to give a lot of context. Anyway, uh, whatever. Anyway, um. Shoo-hoo, 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 shoo-hoo. Aha, abum shoo-hoo, shoo-hoo. Nuwa abumo para shoo-hoo, shoo-hoo, nuwan keita abumo para shoo-hoo, shoo-hoo, ka. Abumo para shoo-hoo, shoo-hoo, nuwan keita. Abumo para shoo-hoo, shoo-hoo, abumo madio, huh? Looks like 21. Just checking my battery. Okay. Uh, life direction. One. This is an obvious one. He doesn't understand work, which is because of his family. That's interesting. Ancestors are speaking here. Basically, the average family does not prepare people to work properly. So for a big person, that's terrible. So he thinks. How am I gonna write this? He thinks he must. Oh, are these all about work? Okay. Kalakani. Okay. I think I'm gonna get out of here actually. But the life direction thing, there's something I have to think about here. But what I'm seeing is, okay. Before I go, I'm gonna fill this out, but I'm gonna do it quickly. Basically, long story short, John Y. This is part of why he's famous. He overworks, and he overworks. His family made him misunderstand work. So one, he thinks his work has to be hard, so he makes his work hard. Two, he works alone, because he thinks work has to be done alone. Three, he oversells the value of his work. And then four, he thinks that his work makes him God. And I'll say it like that, and that's disturbing. And I'll leave it at that. What's the picture I'm painting here? First, let me wipe. Alright. Capernaum no go 604. Oh shoot. Yes. If you see the number 3 or any of its multiples followed by 0 and 4, that's a manifestation of Oshun. The most sacred of those is the number 604. Ooh. Coming straight from the ancestors. This is Amadioha Radio. That is segment. That just like something I boomed out. I think I just boomed that out. This is Amadioha Radio. The ancestors are speaking. Kaburnam no goha. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Here's the profile. Here's the goal of the profile. The goal of the profile is to help you understand people you should avoid. Please avoid black male Trump supporters. Please avoid black male Trump supporters. Now, we as a society have to come together and, well, Zoha. What does that mean? Do what is necessary in regards to them. Obviously, part of that will involve, just for ethical purposes, making sure that they have what is necessary to survive, And then since they'll be alive, they'll have, um, an opportunity to repent, just because anyone who's alive can repent. But the general population should avoid them, and then relevant authorities should talk to them. Now, obviously, the caveat to this is that people have the legal right in the society today to choose to support Trump. But I'm just saying we have to recognize practically that that is a deleterious thought process and, you know, lifestyle. So, I mean, that just has to be examined. Uh, just I don't know. There has to be a way. There just has to be a way to um, morally, ethically, and legally talk to these kinds of individuals. Um, from the standpoint of the authorities, and just get an idea of what's going on with them. Because I'm just saying that they have issues, so those issues have to be dealt with. Okay, let me just read out the profile. So, again, the point of this profile is to tell you a type of person you should avoid. Again, this is a hypothetical person, so there should also be discourse about this profile. This is a guy named John Y. He's a famous black male Trump supporter. So, this is his inner life, and this will manifest in how he behaves outwardly. And again, I just want to state my own positionality. Let me state my voting history. I'm currently 28. I first voted in 2016. I voted for Hillary Clinton. Then, next time I voted was the 2018 midterms. Everyone I voted for was a Democrat. And then I voted on some ballot measures. Then 2020. Okay, 2020 is the complicated one. 2020, I was startled by Joe Biden as a candidate, and I was also unsatisfied with Democrats' failure to meet their stated goals. Because I want to be clear, the overall stated goals that Democrats shine out. I agree with end to racism, end to bigotry in general. General kumbaya, all that. Yeah, it's just they consistently fail to meet those goals. So I decided not to vote for Joe Biden. I wasn't sure what to do. Voting Republicans not an option. What does that mean? I I basically did a protest vote. I didn't articulate it to myself in quite that way at the time because I don't like it, but I did a protest vote. I wrote in a vote for Kanye West. I want to make this clear. I do not like Kanye West. I don't support him like that. I just said, you know what? Who else would I write in for president? I don't know. Everyone else I saw had been involved in some major high level bad policy. I'll put it like that. Kanye West just has not been positioned to do that. So I just did a protest vote. I said, you know what? That is not as bad as what I've seen. Down ballot, I don't think I saw anyone else worth voting for. And then I wrote in some ballot measures. And then I didn't vote in the 2022 midterms because a lot was going on with me, honestly. I moved the previous year, and then I was sick, which is unfortunate. And then 2024, again, I was not in position to vote on anything. And again, my position now is to not vote for individual candidates. We need systemic change. So I'm just noting my positionality here. But what's the common thread throughout my voting history? Trying my hardest to empower good people when I felt I couldn't do that, signifying that I was unsatisfied with the options available, and opposing MAGA and all that other kind of nonsense. Okay. And I just want to leave it at that for now. So that's pillar one. Pillar two of stating my positionality on this, I just really am deeply opposed, and I'm being polite here, deeply opposed to Donald Trump, the Trump movement, and his supporters. And I'll leave it at that to be polite. That's my positionality. And obviously, you know other stuff about me, okay? So, okay, let's just read out this profile. John Y., male Trump supporter. Four pillars I'm looking at in this profile: his love life, his direction in life, his family life, basically. I'm going to call it more clinically his Indu Ekeji, or his Ekejike, and then his health, his Ahuike. So, one, love life. Again, he's famous. Okay, just checking the time here. Let me put up another short. All right, one, John Y. is unmarried. Two, John Y. has past public relationships. I'm going to add in that he also has children. Just the relationships produce children. Three, he currently has no public relationship, as in all his public relationships are in the past. And four, the biggest one that ties these all in together is that John Y. does not understand love. Okay. Also, I just want to add, because this really annoys me, the only reason I put Kanye West in as a protest vote is because he was actually running for president. I just think it's kind of weird to put in a protest vote of someone who's not running for president. For example, there are many celebrities. Okay, for example, let's use Beyonce. Shout out to Beyonce. I like Beyonce a lot better than Kanye West. Beyonce was not running for president. Say I gained enough momentum and my protest vote landed her in the White House. That would be unfair to her because she wasn't running. I'm just saying that because obviously Kanye West is another figure. AKGK. AKGK. Let me take a break. I'm sorry. AKGK. Call she K. AKGK. Okay, break is over. Again, I don't like Kanye West. Yes, I've liked some of his music in the past. That doesn't mean I like him overall. Overall, he just presented himself as a bad individual. Let me be polite. It's just, we have to be real. The way the political system is today, it seems only bad people rise to the top. And I just want to emphasize, people like Trump and yes, Joe Biden are in a different category because they've actually actualized things and they've done it for a much longer time. So it just, at some point, it's just hard to know what to do. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay. Someone sent me an email or something about the planets. Anyway. Alright. Let's just focus on the profile. So, John Y., famous black male Trump supporter. This is a hypothetical person. His love life. He's unmarried. He has past public relationships. He has no current public relationships, and he does not understand love. Because of that, his second job basically involves him supporting the manosphere. Let's say he's a content creator. He makes content about how much he loves Trump. But his secondary topic is manosphere stuff, and he spouts their stuff. His primary focus is love life, and he just externalized in a crazy way. Why does he go with Trump? He thinks it will allow him to oppress a hypothetical person of the other gender that he has a relationship with, because he has a warped idea of relationships and interacting with other people. Let's flesh this out a bit. How does this dominance, really oppression theory, manifest in the rest of his life? Every time he interacts with another person, he tries to oppress them. He thinks through every single interaction he has, and he says, what am I going to say? Because of that, he can come across very rigid. I'm going to debut a new term, emo, IMO. What does that mean? Beelzebub. Yes, it's the name of a political demarcation in Nigeria, also the name of a river. I just don't think the name applies to something positive metaphysically. Whatever. Emo, Beelzebub. Remember, the people who've carved up the maps were looking into evil realms in this world. They were certainly committing acts of evil. And they were talking a lot about God and the devil. Anyway, so what does that mean? Beelzebub, the final form of the devil, is that which makes you think rigidly. Cult thinking, emo, Beelzebub, the same thing. So he's a cult thinker, and he projects cult thought, even one-on-one interactions. What does that mean? He keeps saying the same thing over and over, and he will not bend and he will not break. Why? Because he wants to oppress the other person. Because he thinks if he does not oppress the other person, he will be oppressed. He lives in a binary world. Side note, what I'm describing here and I'm signifying here, I'm not describing someone who just stands on what they said. That's different. Some people stand on what they said because they genuinely believe it. I'm saying this person is a faker. They have an overall goal, but they don't necessarily believe the individual things they tell people. Their goal is to just oppress. People who stand on what they say are generally very righteous people. And yes, these people will change their mind if there is discourse. It's just maybe if you catch them off guard, they're just not going to agree with you. That's something else. And these people do not just look for arguments. John is actually looking for an argument, but he can hide the way he's looking for an argument. He might come around to his secretary just to say hi, and then he'll bring up Trump. Why? Because he knows that her energy falls when he brings up Trump. This is just an example. Okay, getting animated here. Anyway, he wants to oppress or be oppressed. That is his love life. And he's not succeeded. And because he's not succeeded, he's ratcheted, he's up the ante, and he's oppressing more people. Let me take a pause there. Okay, let's keep going. Direction in life. What is John Wise' direction in life? It's all about work. This is the problem. It's actually a flag on the play, because your direction in life should not just be about work. Side note, this is actually a common fault of a naturally big person, because we're supposed to produce a lot. Big people are supposed to produce big things. So when big people are off, they can overwork. This is the problem. A big person should not be off. Another side note, a big person being down is not the same as a big person being off. You can be on your square and have fallen. All that means is that someone just needs to pick you up and you explode again in a righteous way. If you're off, you're LA. Hapoelele. So, he's off. All he focuses on is work. And I mean, when he's up, kind of, he's like, okay, let me think of work. He's not thinking of his health. Wow, okay. You're not thinking of your health. What? How can you move now? Forgive me, I'm thinking of things. These things are confounding. I'll be honest. Someone not focusing on their health I can't understand it. Because without your health, you're gone. So, I just saw 1111. Proceed by the number 2. 211 colon 11. Let's make a wish. May we all be healthy. Expand forever. Let me just say this. So, John, he makes his work hard, obviously, when he doesn't have to. He works alone. This is probably the biggest one, because I'm of the opinion that big people should work with other people. You shouldn't be working alone. Yes, I understand the irony. I'm working on it. Anyway, 3, he oversells the value of this work. Let's focus on this one. Oh, hold on. Forgive me. Someone else just walked in here. I'll be quick. So he oversells the value of this work. What do I mean? He's doing stuff that's actually not helping the world. Let's say, for example, because he's famous. Okay, I said before his primary job was talking about how he supports Trump. But let's say what was he doing before that? Um, let's say he's a content creator. So let's say before that, before he was talking about how he supported Trump, um, let's say before that he was just making music, and I want to. That one is loaded. Let me be polite. No offense to my other musicians here, but you shouldn't only make music. Music should be accompanied by something. Yeah, so anyway, let me just say it like this quickly. Music should be accompanied by something, and I'll just leave it at that. I gotta be quick. So he used to just make music, and the music did not have a message to it. Then he started talking about how he loved Trump. Um, so he oversells the value of this work, always promoting his music even though it doesn't help people. And then 4, he thinks that his work makes him God. Okay, anyway, I think that's all the profile I'll give for now. Forgive me, just do the tagline, don't support MAGA candidates. I'm just gonna go there because I know Kanye previously supported Trump. When he was running against Trump, I just said, you know what, it doesn't count right now because obviously if he won, Trump wouldn't win, and him running against Trump, it looked like it hurt Trump. Yeah, I have to go into that. It's just anyway. Like let me just peace out. See you guys later. Be healthy.